I'm joined by Simon Kaufman, Scripps News producer extraordinaire, and Stephanie Alston, a viewer and a working mom out of South Carolina. Simon, I want to start with you. Cyclospora, everybody's talking about it because of the explosive diarrhea. I'm going to give you my take, and then, of course, I'm going to ask you a question. My take is this. We don't know how many cases. There's a lag, obviously, in reporting. So even if there are tens of thousands of cases, it pales in comparison to like salmonella or something like that. So why all this fuss, Simon? What is your reporting telling us?
Well, I think all of the fuss is when you hear explosive diarrhea, that makes folks a bit nervous, as it should. But in terms of folks we've talked to, when we've heard from the CDC, you're right. There's only been 1,600 cases from May 1st. That's a lot more than we were at last year. But compared to a salmonella, there's more than 1 million cases of that a year. Norovirus, which is the most common cause of foodborne illness, there's 19 to 20 million cases of that each year. So this is something I was talking with a food safety expert. They said you don't need to be worried, but there should be a wake-up call for how you should be treating your food always, not just when you hear about something like this. Wash it, rinse it, make sure it's safe. And if you want to be extra safe, 158 degrees Fahrenheit. If you cook your lettuce, anything else to that will kill off this parasite and others.
Look at this guy, 158 degrees. He knows.
I'm taking no risks.
And Stephanie, so there was a piece, an opinion piece in the Washington Post, and I want to get the headline right. The headline in the Washington Post on this opinion piece says, please don't stop eating vegetables and fruits because of Cyclospora. Be honest. Are you still eating lettuce, Stephanie?
Okay, so I actually sit at a very weird place in all of this. I am a vegetarian and I'm also the person who keeps Taco Bell in business. And so because of this, I am currently terrified to eat any grocery store lettuce right now. And I'm also terrified to eat at Taco Bell. What I have been doing, I've been relying very heavily on our local farmers market to get all of my produce just because I'm so afraid of everything at the grocery store right now.
That is an interesting take. And I mean, with all these false positives, we don't know where this came from yet. It spreads in feces, right, Simon? It starts with in feces.
That's typically how, cyclospora can start. So if it's somebody in a field that, is working with the produce, goes to the bathroom, doesn't wash their hands, that can be the start of it. So we got that false positive. There's still some unclarity exactly the pinpoint of this. But RFK came out earlier in the week and said they've got it under control. I think the thing to be reminded of is don't be too worried, but do be safe when it comes to handling your food with this or any other produce, meat, fish, or handling.
This whole issue reminds me of a line from a song from one of my favorite bands, Local H, mayonnaise and malaise to go. That's what this whole thing reminds me of. But let's move on. Let's get to Iran, Simon. Secretary Hegseth giving us the price tag so far, close to $40 billion on the war in Iran. Is there any possibility, does your reporting show, in a diplomatic resolution?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say right now. And our White House team has been all over this since this started at the very end of February. And one day it feels like we're a step closer to something, and the next day it feels like we're 5 steps back. President Trump said earlier this week that he has no interest in meeting with Iran until Tehran says that they are ready for meaningful conversations. What meaningful conversations look like is, to be determined. So you never want to say never, but it doesn't feel like we're any closer than when Hegseth and President Trump and others said that, we were close to ending the war. And regardless of what you think of the reason for the wars and why we went to war and if it's a worthy cause, Americans across the board don't like seeing the cost of this and the human toll when, young U.S. soldiers are coming back in caskets, as we saw this week. Certainly that will have a political price as midterms approach us.
Yeah, for sure. And Stephanie, in part because of the war in Iran, groceries, gas. I mean, this new Washington Post Ipsos poll says 2/3 of Americans find groceries unaffordable. What's your experience right now, Stephanie? Are you having to give up other discretionary, spending just to fill your tank and eat?
Everything is unaffordable right now. And I mean, and you think about it, right? When you think about grocery prices are unaffordable, but then we're dealing with all these outbreaks in our food. And so it's like it's unaffordable and it's bad for you, right? And so for me, yes, I am seeing the higher prices at the gas pump. I'm also seeing the higher prices at the grocery store. I am literally at the grocery store every single day making life decisions on, do I really need this or do I not need it?
It is a tough time for a lot of people. All right, I have about 30 seconds left. Let me throw this out there to you two. We heard World Cup, World Cup, World Cup. Then the U.S. lost, but we still heard World Cup, World Cup. I watched the final too. But now it's like radio silence on soccer. Simon, when are we going to hear about soccer again?
Probably next year's Women's World Cup or 4 years from now at the next Men's World Cup. But we did see 60 million plus people in the U.S. tuning into that finals match. So there's excitement. Just imagine if the U.S. were playing in that. But it feels like it kind of peaks during these major tournaments. And then people remember that, what we call football here reigns supreme.
Stephanie, did you watch? Do you care?
I did not watch the entire World Cup, but I did watch the halftime show, and it was great.
Simon, Stephanie, thanks to you both. We'll see you next week.